If you had like one lesson learned for anyone who wants to run a small shop, what would that be?
Make sure you treat your people like you want to be treated. It's amazing how far it'll go just saying thank you or good job or letting them know they mean something. Be supportive of them. That's one thing I've learned too, is if someone's got an idea, listen to it. Don't think just because you're in charge, you know everything, because I don't. I mean, coming into this business was a whole new thing for me, so I had no choice but to listen to these guys. So I've learned a lot from them, and I think they've learned some good things from me, and they know that I care about them.
Hi guys, we are back on the shop and today our guest is Jeff Wernette. He spent more than 20 years in one of the top 5 tier 1 automotive supplier and he made the switch to run a shop. So now he's the operation manager at CES Tooling Technology and he's gonna share with us some challenges and why did he make that change, that life-changing event. All right, Jeff, hello, how are you?
Good. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you for joining. Thank you for being with us today. So my first question would be, what made you change from a big corporation, probably like comfortable, moving to a small shop with crazy thing, crazy environment, and now you are in charge. So tell us a little bit about that.
So my background is engineering, and I plastics engineering. So most of my life for the last 25 years prior to this job, I was running either a plastics facility or an engineer at a plastics facility doing manufacturing. Manufacturing in general consumes a good portion of your life. So I thought it'd be a good chance, an opportunity to see what it's like to be on the other side of the fence where we get our tools from and to see what kind of dynamics that is. My biggest thing was to try and get a little better work-life balance. And that's what I have now that I'm in the tooling industry. The fires aren't as many. I mean, don't get me wrong, challenging days, we have our challenges, but it's not an everyday firefight. It's just more of with the smaller company, it's more of a family. All the decisions are made right here at this building. When you work for a corporation, you have to have a lot of other approvals to make things happen. So there's really little to no red tape here. So that's one of the big things that I really like. I have full control of everything. When you're at a big corporation, you have some control to a certain extent, right? But for the most part, you're given direction from the corporate identities, So anyways,
Yes.
my biggest thing was to not be on call 24/7 like I was when I worked in manufacturing. We ran around the clock. Here we run 2 shifts. Um, 42 people. I went from working with 450 people that were my reports or responsibility to 42. So that type of level of responsibility is a lot better. It's easier to manage. I actually know everybody's names. It's hard to learn, 300 and some people plus names. The turnover is massive in manufacturing because a lot of younger people aren't used to working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. And that's what you have to do based on the automotive pull, right? So that part of it, I don't miss at all. It's
Okay,
just a
so
lot calmer. And like I said, I got 100% control. I report to the board. We meet quarterly, and any type of spending in excess of X amount of money is
okay, so
great.
now I understand a little bit better because first I was surprised when you say the life balance is better when you run a small business, and
Yeah,
which is actually completely the opposite of what everybody's saying. Because when you run the small business, you have to have multi hat, multi job, you know.
yeah,
So I'm surprised, but okay, now I get it because you were with more than 400 people. Wow.
yeah.
Okay, might be
And then
life
I worked
changing.
for making, constantly making the same parts over and over and over. So the redundancy in the manufacturing side, you'd make a million parts a day and they're all the same combination of parts. Here, everything we build's a one-off custom tool. Do we want to get into the piece part side of things eventually, but it's not massive runs where you're doing a million parts a day type deal. So everything we do is custom. Customer shows us a 3D drawing of the part they want, and we design the tool to make that. And
Okay.
typically you make one, and that'll make the million or, X amount of parts for the life of that particular program. So automotive, right, runs in cycles where they're either 5 or 7 years. So every 5 to 7 years, you get to refresh and make a new tool. So that's one of the downfalls of the tooling side of the business is the sales are up and down, so
It's a lot of one-off, right?
you got to have filler work for when you don't have new tools. So we do a lot of repairs. A lot of stuff gets broken out there, especially when they start training new people to start them up. If there's a place that does a lot of mold changes, they tend to damage their tools a little bit more. For us, that's a good thing, not for them, but course, everything's hot. When it comes to repairs, though, there's a little more stress on repairs because they got to be done a lot quicker. So
Okay. So that's a
that's
good transition, maybe on
yes.
the trend. What trend do you see on the business right now when you
Right
speak about
now,
those one-off job and the cycle in automotive? But what about today?
today we're seeing a downward trend on new tooling. A lot of programs because we do a lot of stuff for the automotive. I would say we're probably 80% automotives. We build tools for tier ones or tier twos to the automotive. But right now, the automotive's delaying some programs. So everything we thought was coming this year is now either being pushed out or delayed. So like last year, we did probably, I want to say 55 brand new tools. This year, we're looking at 12 right now with hopefully more coming. I think what we're going to see and what I just said in a thing today about, the trend in this business. And they're saying over the next 3 months, it should pick up. 2026 is when it starts to climb. So if we can make it the next couple months surviving on just our repairs, we should see a huge uptick in 2026. We have right now
Why is that? What's happening early 26? Why do you see that uptick?
new model years will be kicking
Okay.
off for the automotive. There's some new programs coming. Scout from Volkswagen bought out Scout, so there's some of that's coming. Ford is finally releasing. They're going to start moving forward on that. We just got done building some tools for the new GM pickups, which we're going to launch right about now, but that got moved out a little bit as well. But those tools are built. So a lot of it's just driven by they don't know whether they want to do EVs or if they want to do ICEs, right? So we see a lot of that weight. And then that's the biggest thing right now. We're in like a holding pattern, I guess you could say, where they're waiting to decide what direction they want to go. So
But would
hopefully
you be impacted by either of those, or would you still have the same amount of job?
what helps us is when they actually kick them off. So right now they're just not doing anything, right?
Okay. Yes.
So once they decide the direction, it'll definitely help us. The only downfall, like I was saying a little bit earlier, is the transition. Is China going to get a bunch of our work, or are we going to really aren't affecting the China side of things like we had hoped to where it'd drive it back to us? They've found ways around it already. So, they're always gonna, I get it.
Yeah, that's right. Because early this year we had the tariff. It was a huge
Yeah, everybody
earthquake
freaked
for the
out.
automotive industry entire, especially in the US. It was a big, some of them like shift everything back to US, like very,
Yeah,
very quick. Some of them stopped and shut down. And you are saying that for you, you compete with China and it didn't change a thing?
no, not really. No, we haven't seen it change. What we're seeing is so the tariff is on the actual build of the tool. Okay. So what we're seeing is happening is all the cost for these new tools are baking into the engineering side of it. They don't get tariffed on the design. They get tariffed on the actual build.
On the
So,
material
you
and
know,
the
they
production.
yeah, they shift all the costs to the design side of it, and then the actual build gets reduced. So they're only tariffing, let's say, a true 40% of that actual tool build is what's going to get tariffed, even though 60% of it is actually what should have been. So they're playing the game, and I get it, but it's affecting us more as far as components. So like we buy a lot of components, and in any component, whether it's US or China, they all want to put their tariff spin on it. So we're up on average probably about 25% throughout this year just on component pricing. It has increased. Isn't that crazy? So everybody's taking advantage of these tariffs, and whether it's U.S. made or not, well, the tariffs are driving this, and the tariffs are driving that. It's just an excuse, in my opinion.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's sketchy.
And if you had a message to pass, like why should we work with you instead of China toolmaker?
I would say if you're going to run it in the States, the best thing to do is have a tool shop that built it here in the States. You do have to have someone that'll service it, right? So if it breaks or you need an engineering change or something done, it's always better to have it built here. The reason I say that is typically if we get a tool that was built from China and we have to do an engineering change, we usually have to, the data's never really clean. So there's more cost in it. It'll actually cost you more to have it serviced or fixed stateside. Yes, you save it up front, but at the end of the life of the program, you basically didn't gain anything. My opinion, in the quality of tool that you get out of, well, I can speak for our plant here, is superb. A lot of CMM checking. We make sure everything is perfect. So China, you basically get what you get, and you have to pay 100% before it even hits the States. So if it's not the way you want it, you're kind of stuck with it. You already bought it.
You can say you can send it back because you are in a rush, right?
So, we are looking at some opportunities where as much as I don't want to we're looking at partnering with somebody from China, possible tool shops over there to where we can be a landing house. And at least that gives us the, opportunity to quote the engineering changes and be the lead repair house for it. There is some, risk with that because once the tool lands at your shop, you kind of own it, and it can get tricky. Never done it per se here at this plant. I've been part of it in my past work experience, but never on this side of it. And that's something we're looking at because, I want to keep my guys working. Work is work, but it's not ideal by any means.
That would be a solution to keep control of the design, right? So yeah, okay. And at least you have the ownership of the design. You can get the changeover, you can get the engineering change. Okay. But what about today if one of your customer buys the tool in China? Are you servicing it, or are you offering this service? Like you can repair that
We
tool
can
from China?
repair them, yes, for sure. The biggest issue we run into sometime is, like I said, the data's not that clean, so we might have to reverse engineer it. Fortunate for us is we have 3D scanning capabilities to do reverse engineering. We have a CMM quality check department. We got 2 guys dedicated to that. Even though we're small, we do have the state-of-the-art equipment to do that. So we have done that for others too, where they'll get a tool and they don't really know where everything's at in it. We'll scan it and we can recreate the data that way. We do all our own designs in-house too. So we got designers here. We do all our own programming. So like I said, even though we're small, we control everything, which is a huge benefit to us. And it gives us the ability to take these tools that maybe were built over and be able to dissect them and fix them as needed.
So
Sometimes we can make them a little better, or sometimes you're stuck with what you get. You just got to do the best you can with it. I'm not saying everything that comes out of there is subpar. They're getting very good at making tools over there, but I still feel here it's better. You know exactly what kind of steel you got in it. You know, it's around, you know, some of that stuff in China, they'll make every single component. You don't know whether they bought it or if it's homemade, so to speak. So that's the risk. But they save money, right? So
Short term, and
yeah.
then
That's what I always thought. Because even when I was on the other side and the manufacturing side of it, and we would have tools overseas, it's like, okay, we saved a ton up front, but my repair costs, I did a huge study. We had like 400 tools in production at the plant I was at. And of them 400, you know, let's say 30% were overseas tools. Those are the ones we put the most work into. They were the ones that needed the most finessing, the most, they seemed to break the most. You know, it's coincidence, but that's what that data showed me. And we ended up using that with our corporate division to get away from overseas toolings for a few years. And then, of course, the next regime comes in, that new managements and blah, 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 and you end up back in China. And then you got to do it all over again.
damn, because I was about to say you successfully moved away from China in your previous job. You were forced to go back again. So now you start the shop, you run the shop, and today you don't want to work with China, but you are trying to create a
Yeah,
partnership to control at least what you can control.
yeah.
Ah, that's
Do everything I
crazy.
don't want to do, but God, you know, some stuff you get forced into. So with this being a smaller company, we don't have a huge corporate backing by any means. So you got to do what you got to do to keep these guys going, you know, and it's amazing here. Everybody gets along. It's like a family almost. So we want to take care of everybody. So I care about my employees. I respect them and try and keep them busy and do whatever we can to keep them moving. Some of these guys here, this is the only place they've ever worked. They got 35, seen this full of a turnaround in my life. You know, it's like 0.01% turnaround here when I came from a manufacturing place at like 25% turnaround, you know, so it's, you got to take care of them people. It makes for a strong team when they're not all leaving on you all the time.
That's great, definitely. So, how do you pass that message to your customer today?
For how do we keep them to keep the stuff over here?
Yes, how do you keep the business here? How do you convince them to buy with you instead of overseas? How do you preach them?
Well, we preach the quality side of it, the cheaper service costs, because you know if we build it, it's easier for us to service it. We do have all the designs in house, right? So we have all our. Let's say you need to recut or reburn, EDM burn something. We have all that programmed so we can save you time and cost if something breaks. Now, if it comes from China, we gotta have to do all our own programming from the electrodes. We gotta redo all that stuff because we don't have it. Even though we got the tool data, we don't have all the programming, cutter paths, and all that good stuff you need to actually fix it. So we preach that, you know, we preach that we're close by. Most of our customers are within 3, 4 hours. We can send a guy to look at it, processing support as well. So if they're having issues with processing, I'll go in myself even and do that. We have a couple companies we've helped with some scrap issues, offer tooling suggestions, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, overall, for us to compete with China cost wise, we're not going to get there, unfortunately. So we have to push quality and easier serviceability and that kind of stuff. Um,
Okay.
Unfortunately, the mighty dollar is what most people look at. But we got some customers that are really happy with the type of tooling they get from the US. And more of it's whether they're diehard USA people or not. We
Okay.
have one customer right now that we've done tons of work with, and they're really being pressured for getting some overseas tooling costs. What we're proposing is we kind of do a mix and match where we build some of the tools that we can be competitive on. Some tools we're competitive on. Other tools, I mean, they're 30, 40 grand cheaper than us. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge margin to absorb, right? I mean, their pay scales are so small. A skilled trade here, you got to pay them or you're not going to keep them. You're not going to keep them,
Yes.
you know.
Okay.
It's a little more just to keep these guys here. And unfortunately, some of that cost has to be pushed on. This year, though, I did to help us a little bit. I dropped our hourly rate to get us more work. So that's helped slightly, but obviously it's going to eat my margins away. It's a catch 22. It's like, how much margin do you want? You want 10, 15, 20%? Well, yeah, I'd love that. If I get five, I'm happy. If everybody's working and we pay our bills, that's a plus. And we put some money in the bank, we'll go that direction, but it's not ideal.
Yes. So, if today, aside of China or overseas competition, what's holding you for like growing or bigger or getting more job? Do you feel there is any other roadblock aside from China?
With you, say our only roadblock right now is that other than other tool shops in the US that maybe have more state-of-the-art equipment that can do more, I would call lights out type tooling. So then you can reduce your cost. What we do to help compete with that is we have some pretty good equipment and we have some older stuff, right? We try and pair it up so one guy is watching three machines instead of running them lights out because we don't have the capability with all of them to do that. The other thing I did to help with it is we originally were one shift and now we're two shifts, and I run what I call a skeleton crew on nights so we can keep a lot of this equipment running and they can watch it. It's just that it's a little older, so you got to keep an eye on it. So these guys are all great. They listen to it. They do everything by sound, right? They'll know if it's going bad or not. As long as they got a few guys in here doing that, that has made a huge impact for us over the last year, especially on deliveries. We were struggling with deliveries before I started here. So putting that night shift on and it's six guys made a huge, huge difference. So we're able to turn things around quicker, which will also help us in the long run when it comes to getting repairs and getting them out of here. And our tool timing has improved. So between those, I'm hoping that gets us some more. I mean, that's kind of the direction I want to push to say, hey guys, we can build this tool quicker. Obviously, if you can build it quicker, cheaper because you got less hours into it. And then we can service it quicker than anybody. Those are the kinds of things we push. And like I said again, though, sometimes they don't have a choice but to their budget's cut and they have to go overseas. I don't want to take a job and lose my sense, or even just
Yes.
breaking even doesn't do you any good because if you have one hiccup, you just lost it.
Yes.
It's a thin line to walk, let's say. It can be difficult at times. The other thing we're looking at right now, and a thing I looked at or heard about today, is the military industry or opportunities are supposed to grow 18% over the next 2 years. So we're in the process of getting certified to do military work. Once we do that, that'll be more piecework
Okay.
where you're doing 50 of the same things at a time or something. So at that point, we'll get some dedicated equipment and some guys for that. But that's like an 18-month process to get all that. So we're in the infant stages of that, but I think that'll be good filler work down the road. And hopefully that gets us some other stuff.
Well, you have new goals, new objectives.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah? You are not, keeping the status quo, so that's great. So, if you had like one lesson learned for anyone who wants to run a small shop, what would that be?
Make sure you treat your people like you want to be treated. It's amazing how far it'll go just saying thank you or good job or let them know they mean something. I mean, just the little things we do, like for their birthdays or whatever, it builds like a community. And these guys will all work together and they'll help on each other's jobs. Before it wasn't quite like that because they were all kind of in their own. So I started doing cross training. So don't be afraid to stress the system, I guess you should say. Push people till they're uncomfortable and then see where their breaking point is or what it takes to make them continue to grow. Be supportive of them. That's one thing I've learned too, is if someone's got an idea, listen to it. Don't think just because you're in charge, you know everything, because I don't. I mean, coming into this business was a whole new thing for me, so I had no choice but to listen to these guys. So I've learned a lot from them, and I think they've learned some good things from me, and they know that I care about 'em. I'm not just here for the owners to make money. I'm here to make sure they make money too. So I guess long story short, just respect your people is something I learned. My previous jobs, it was more like snap type deal. We'll get another one to replace 'em. You know, here it's like it's not that simple. I've got a guy that is skilled at what he's doing, and to replace that, those people are hard to find. That's the dynamics is totally different because everybody here has to be skilled. So of the 42 people, yes, I got a couple that do odds and ends and stuff, but for the most part, 95% of the workforce here has to be skilled. They have to know what they're doing. When you're in manufacturing, you can pull somebody off the street and give them some instructions because it's so repetitive. Here, being all custom, it's different every time. It's not like you can do a work instruction here. These are the steps you follow because it's different on every single one.
I
That was
know.
my hardest adjustment is getting used to the one-off stuff and the fact that these guys aren't constantly doing something. They're more listening and watching than anything. So it kind of gives you that false sense that they're not doing anything. That was a hard adjustment because I'm used to seeing everybody moving all the time, right? These
The
guys are
the
like,
firefighting mode, right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I like it. So respect and listen. And it was hard to adapt. No, that's great. But thank you, Jeff, for those insights. So, if we want to find you, if we want to work with you, where can we find you?
CSTE.com is our website. There's links on there for you to get a hold of us. It also shows you all our equipment, things we're capable of doing, and all the services we offer. So we do a lot of different stuff. We can do machining. We've done some stuff for one of the national vehicle groups, drive shafts for their prototype. We're willing to do anything. Reverse engineer anything, you name it. we are willing to give it a try, or if you're willing to let us try, we'll do it. And we take a lot of pride in what we do. Anyways, our website is up and running. We just refabbed it. We got an IT guy on site now, so that helps a lot. You also find us on LinkedIn. You can see some of the events we do with the community, very community oriented, help out some of the individuals that are less fortunate. So we donate to certain people 2 or 3 times a year just to give back to the community as well. But yes, that's the best place to find us, those 2 locations.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. All right. Thank you very much for being with us today. That will be the end of our podcast. So thanks
Thank
again.
you, sir.
Yes. Guys, thank you for watching and see you around.